when it comes to the romanticism of driving or the thrill of driving, it doesn't get much more romantic or thrilling than having no top above you and a big V8 slung out in front of you. And as far as big V8 drop tops go, they don't get much more eye-catching than the Lexus LC500. So you gotta love a convertible, right? Well, yes and no. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of convertibles. I find them a little bit too squishy. I prefer coupe versions of vehicles. But this one here is one good-looking convertible, so I'm going to give it its due, that's for sure. Inside's pretty much the same as the Lexus LC500 Coupe. That means you've got the weird Shrek ear drive mode adjustment and traction control adjustment up here. You've got the paddle shifters, this great volume knob that feels like it belongs in like an at-home hi-fi. Really, really nice. You've got the Lexus infotainment system here. I don't love it. It's a bit finicky, this touchpad. And what's frustrating is that all this stuff here, seat heating, the headrest heater, which actually blows warm air on the back of your neck, which is actually pretty cool. Well, it's actually pretty warm anyway. All this stuff has to be accessed only through this system. There's no buttons anywhere to just turn seat heaters off or turn the headrest system off and so on. And that's kind of annoying because this system's already not that great to use, and to have to use it to navigate this finicky menu, it's kind of bothersome to me. Anyway, you've also got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so there you go. And otherwise, though, very, very Lexus in here. I don't know about this toasted caramel interior. It looks kind of like a Werther's original candy and looks like something that somebody that eats a lot of Werther's original candies might buy. Kind of like a retiree's car, I would say. No offense to them, but not really my cup of tea. Luckily, there's a black interior as well. You've also got a red interior, which I like. A red interior, bright red interior with maybe like a blue exterior, which is a combo you can do. That's more up my alley. And it's kind of weird because the exterior of this car is so modern looking, it's so futuristic, but it's kind of old school feeling in here, especially in this toasted caramel leather. Not a huge fan. I'm also not a huge fan of the brown roof either. Kind of for the same reason I'm not a fan of this. I'd rather have a black roof and a different color interior. Of course, you can also get the special edition of this car, which costs you about 10 grand to get, but it gets you a blue roof, blue exterior paint, and a white and blue interior. So super flashy there. But otherwise in here, great seating position, nice and low. The seat really hugs your ribs, which I'm a big fan of. Pretty good view out over the front. Like that a lot. And of course, you've got this great soft top here as well. You've got a soft top because most convertible people will tell you that convertibles are supposed to have a soft top. Rolls-Royce, for example, fairly certain they only make soft tops of their convertibles. The new BMW 4 Series is coming out with a soft top. I don't believe it's coming out with a hard top. Soft tops are what convertibles are all about. They're also lighter than the hard tops are and so on. That being said, I've talked to some people that say they would never have a convertible unless they could have a folding hard top. So you got to keep that in mind. But this is a folding soft top, and it goes about its business in about 18 seconds. which means you can kind of do it at a stoplight interval. Luckily, you can also do it as you're driving, but of course, I think once you hit something like 25 or 30 kilometers an hour, you can't use the roof mechanism anymore, so you want to get it done before that. And the quality is also mostly really, really good, except for this one bugaboo I have, which is this shift lever here. It's an electronic shift lever, so it's a little bit finicky to use in the first place. Looks like something out of a Prius to me. But anyways, you know, what are you gonna do? You get used to it after a while, but the shift lever is loose. This is like a $125,000 car with like less than 10,000 kilometers on it. You should not have a shift lever that you can so easily twist in your hand like this. Bit of a strange shortcoming from Lexus. Otherwise, it's pretty nice in here. So in the LA Dodgers hat for this test, because if I'm honest, and as we look at the weather outside right now, and the fact that I've got the top up in this Lexus LC convertible, the only place where big, brash convertibles like this, in my opinion, really make a lot of sense anyway, is like in LA or in Newport Beach and so on, or Venice Beach, or the nice part of Venice Beach anyway. Is there still a nice part of Venice Beach? I don't know. So LA Dodgers hat, because this is an LA car as far as I'm concerned. So I've got a nice V8 slung way out ahead of me here under this long hood. Good for 471 horsepower and 398 pound-feet of torque. That is, when it comes to these big convertibles, you don't see a lot of them. You've got the 8 Series BMW, Mercedes SL and S, and then you've got this. That's pretty much it. Jaguar doesn't do it anymore, and the Americans don't either, of course. They haven't done one for years. So it puts it about the middle of the pack when it comes to horsepower. It's got more power and torque than the SL450 Mercedes, which is the one that you'd probably be putting this one up against. I wouldn't put this up against the AMG version of that car. That's a way more powerful car, and it's kind of in a different league, I think, than this. So that's kind of where I'm looking. So I make more power here, make more torque than the SL450, but also costs more than the SL450. And that could be a bit of a problem, because the SL450 is the segment leader in this here for sure it is. It's got so much clout, so much brand equity, and for Lexus to come in here and charge more for their entry-level LC500, well, there's only one LC500 really, than the Mercedes does the SL, that's going to be a little bit of a tough go, I think, for them. But I've got more power here, almost 500 horses, so that's actually really, really quite awesome. And you know, 10-speed automatic transmission, and when you do get on it, it makes itself heard, that's for sure. It's got a loud exterior and a loud exhaust system as well. It's much more Mustang than Mercedes, in my opinion. Of course, you'd hear it even better if my top were down, but of course, we're in Vancouver, it's late winter, early spring, and it's raining, so top has to stay up. Although, of course, as we probably know, in a convertible, as long as you're driving, you can kind of drive in the rain with the top down, because it gets caught in the airstream and flows over you. Not a huge deal, but we're in traffic here, so unfortunately, top's gonna have to stay up, but you can hear me better that way, so there you go. But of course, that is the inherent issue with convertibles. I mean, in Canada, where I am, you can really only use them top down for like, I don't know, 3 months of the year, really, if I'm honest. More in Vancouver probably than in the rest of the country, but you know, it's kind of, you know, why are you getting this car? I can't use it as a drop top that often, just get the coupe version. You could say that, and I tend to agree with that, but I also know that when people are buying vehicles like this, they're thinking with their heart much more than their mind. They don't really care that they can't drop the top for 90% of the year or whatever it is. They just like knowing they have a really cool convertible to drive, and at the end of the day, that's really what this is. Throughout the week I've had this car, I can't recall the last time I've had this many people comment on it. For one, I even had a guy come at me and say, wow, that's a neck snapper. And I'm like, whoa, neck snapper? Never heard that before. But he wasn't talking about being violent. He was talking about the fact that you turn your head so quickly as you walk past it, or as it goes past you on its swell of 500 horsepower or thereabouts, that it snaps your neck. Anyway, so that's what he said. I'm like, okay, I guess. But this thing gets looks from people my age. I've had kids comment on it. My cleaning lady's daughter commented on it. Like, it just turns so many heads. And what's great about this LC is, while it is a few years down the road, I mean, the original LC500 came out in 2017, the coupe version. So this is kind of like how they've kind of refreshed the model for 2021, about 5 years down the road, is they've added a convertible version to what is essentially a 5-year-old car. It's not really new in any other way, but they have given us a convertible version, which is really, really kind of cool, which adds to the V8 coupe and the hybrid coupe they already had. So, I guess that's kind of that's pretty cool for sure, and it looks great, and it looks like it did in concept form, which I think is which is awesome. I talked a little bit before how I don't love the interior coloring. The exterior color though was awesome. I love this infrared exterior color, and there's other cool stuff too. You've got solar yellow, I believe it's called. I think it's called solar yellow. You've got nori green, like nori, like the seaweed, which is kind of cool. And a couple, you got a blue, there's white, silver. So lots of colors to choose from. Not as many interior colors, just as I said before, just this toasted caramel and black, or white and blue if you get the fancy kind of $10,000, package on there. But awesome looking car. Seriously, real head turner, way more than anything that BMW produces, anything that Mercedes produces, really, anything that Audi produces. They don't really do a big convertible either. Audi doesn't. They have the, the A5, I guess, but or the S5, but they don't, none of them turn heads like this does. This is a really cool looking car, and give Lexus credit. Although lately it's been a lot better. They haven't always been known for being the most kind of adventurous when it comes to their styling, but this one here is knocked out of the park for styling. For sure it does. It's awesome. And it's good that the exterior has so much flair, because the interior really doesn't. It's pretty, as you saw before, it's pretty basic in here, and that's fine. I don't really mind, but when you think of the competition like the Mercedes SL or the BMW 8 Series, there's a lot more. It's a lot more of an event to step into one of those vehicles than it is here. And I think that's an important factor when buying a halo car like this, is you want every aspect to be very, very kind of like give you pause. And the interior here is a little on the, it's too Lexus. It's too Lexus. They haven't made it unique enough, I don't think, in my opinion, to separate this from stuff like the Lexus ES or IS and so on. So, it doesn't bother me per se, but I think buyers in this segment might take some issue with that. They want a little more of kind of some flash, some flair when they step in here. It does have one cool party trick though, and that's the way the central tack here slides back and forth. You select different menus in the gauge cluster, and the way the tack itself, which is digitized, changes color a little bit depending on what drive mode you're in. If you're in Sport Plus, you get this really cool white bezel, which is very reminiscent of what you might have seen on the old LFA supercar. So that's a really kind of a cool touch. When you do make use of those Shrek ears and activate one of the sportier drive modes, hold on, because this LC500 is a real cracker. Like, that thing is instant power delivery. There's no lag whatsoever. Short ratio 10-speed gearbox, and of course you've got a naturally aspirated V8 motor, so you don't have to worry about turbo spooling up or a supercharger or whatever. You just get straight power right away, and you've got to hold on. This thing is quick, and it sounds it too. Like, it transforms into a whole nother animal when you really get into it. So it's quite addictive, actually. No other way to put it. Woo. So really cool stuff. Really cool stuff, and it doesn't suffer from so much of the creaking and cracking you get that I've always had issue with when it comes to convertible. You can do your best to add cross braces and change the subframe up a little bit if you have to, or whatever, to give it a little more strength, but there's only so much you can do to defeat physics. But this one here, except for the harshest bumps you go over, it's not too bad at all. Soft top's probably one of the reasons why it rides or drives as well as it does, because you don't have all that weight of the hard top roof, plus the mechanism required to fold it and to stow it and so on. So there you go, soft top it is, and soft top makes sense, I think, in this application. It's great. Like, it's raining right now. I don't really hear. It's not like I'm in a tent. You hear it a little bit. It's not bad, because they've got probably 2 layers or 3 layers or however many layers of material in here. So it's really cool, and it's so unique. One of the reasons why so many people are probably so, taken aback by it is because, for honest, you don't see a lot of these LCs out there. Like, you don't see many at all. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'd be surprised if they sold more than like 200 of these last year in Canada. I'd be really surprised, the coupe version, I mean. So, it's a really unique car too. It's got a lot going for it, does this LC500 coupe. Or, this is not the coupe, this is the convertible. This LC500 convertible. So much so that typically, while I say when faced with the choice of a hard top or a soft top version of any given car, I'd almost always take the fixed roof version, I don't think that's the case here. I think I'd take the convertible. This car is already such an event that taking the top off just ups the ante even further in that department. It looks better with the top down. It sounds better with the top down. It's just so cool with the top down. I love it. Yeah, I don't want to be able to drive it, 4 or 5 days in a given year in Vancouver. Or if I want to drive it a little bit more on colder days, I can just activate the heated steering wheel, activate the heated seats, and the warm air coming to the blowing on the back of my neck here, and Bob's your uncle, right? So there you go. What a fun car! What a fun car! What a cool experience! This is a really, really neat vehicle for sure. And for those 4 or 5 or 8 or whatever days I would drive it a year, be a whole lot of fun and well worth the wait. Thank you for tuning into my review of the 2021 Lexus LC500 Convertible. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. If not, no hard feelings, of course. You can follow me on Twitter @DanTheWheelman and on Instagram @DanTheWheelman as well. And look for a full review and pics of this car on auto123.com sometime soon. Until then, thanks for tuning in, and sayonara, folks.